hopefully folks are at least know about or somewhat familiar with the Oregon Travel Study. We're talking about some of the things, how important statewide type of efforts are, very much a statewide effort. Just wanted to quickly give a shout out to the leadership team of the Oregon Travel Study that includes Joe Roach from Metro, Becky Knudsen from MoDOT, and Kelly Clarke from Central Lane MPO. They've really done a wonderful job to make that successful, and it has been very successful. And Kelly had, I guess, especially fun role as being the main contract manager, where all the funds are funneled through Central Lane MPO, so that's even more fun. But yeah, so I'll hand it over to Kelly to provide an update on the travel study. Just as an FYI, it's also a subcommittee of the OMSC. But yeah, I'll hand it over to Kelly to provide an update.
Yeah, thank you. I am here with the leadership team, Joe and Becky, so please hop in if I'm missing anything at any point. So the purpose of this travel survey subcommittee is to develop a planning framework for conducting a household travel behavior survey statewide. We work collaboratively to plan and implement the Oregon Travel Survey, gather information, experiences, lessons learned from national peers. And so we're a couple years into this process and wanted to share out kind of the project status and next steps today. As of July 2024, so this summer, we completed survey collection, and we wanted to share some numbers here about numbers of invites. We've conducted 3 rounds of surveys that all contributed towards the final number of completes. The spring 2023 round was a pilot effort to kind of get some lessons learned, see how the survey mechanism was working, and get some data points about rates of completion. And we translated that into the fall 2023 survey deployment, and then the last one, which again ended in July 2024. So you can see the number of total invites per each of those rounds of surveys, the number of completes, which was over our target number of completes, which was good at 21,673 with a 2.5% rate of completion. The majority of which were completed in the R Moves app, which is an app owned by the consultant RSG. So we're currently cleaning and validating this data. And the next step will be to develop expansion weights, which is a little bit more of an intense process, just the cleaning and validating. And then that will also be QA/QC'd with an independent consultant who is familiar with Oregon, but that we will kind of be hands off in that effort, just so that make sure that for her review to be kind of pure and provide us feedback that ensures quality assurance. Carol, if you could. Okay. The next, one of the bigger next steps that we're working on to kind of carry on this work and be able to do a little bit more than was in our original contract, we found about $500,000 of project savings through basically mailing savings that were in the original budget. And then we had a contingency budget that we moved into the main survey contract. So the scope of work for that bulk of new funding is now finalized, and the amendment is in the process of being executed. But it includes, the scope of work includes increased resources for developing weights and documentation for the methodology, increased resources for the final report aimed at non-technical readers. So this is really an education tool, but it's also, we need to do a better job of like ensuring that people understand just how important it is, so that we can make sure that the funding is sustainable and that we can continue this efforts in a more maybe a more regular manner than we do currently at every 10 years, where it's a big effort. It takes a lot of resources, and like reinventing the wheel almost every time, especially now that Becky's retiring. We'll be able to carry the torch. So this is an important part for us to be able to kind of promote this big effort and how important it is. We'll also be increased resources to develop a visualization tool, which is part of the original contract, but now it's a kind of some more enhancements to that tool. Again, an education tool and a way for us to be public facing with all this data. A new task to implement in-depth interviews for survey participants to learn more about our underrepresented user groups and less common modes. A new task to estimate road users' value of time for use in models and congestion analysis, and other work related to bike route mapping, improving trip synthesis, comparing the survey to the last survey, and developing data sets that feed directly into the ABM model estimation. All of these are kind of these new tasks are what we brought to the travel survey subcommittee and asked for feedback on how do we want to spend these extra dollars and get their feedback. And now we're incorporating that into these next tasks. Anything you wanted to add to that, Joe or Becky, before I move on?
Note that there were no economic blowouts or viruses that happened during that survey collection.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
the survey.
I know, but there's still
matter.
data being collected, there's still data being worked with. I don't know. Okay, so then for those new tasks, the timeframes associated through July 2025 will be working at data processing, delivery, and documentation. We hope to have a draft data set ready by early 2025, for some select review internally, and again, that quality QA/QC effort with the independent consultant happening during that time. The in-depth interviews for qualitative insights will be conducting as soon as that contract amendment is completed and we issue the notice to proceed. Those will get started and happen through February 2025. The value of time study estimated time frame will be April of next calendar year through August 2026. And then just a continuing through the end of this contract, the enhanced survey processing. And that contract will last through December 2026. So next steps, again, cleaning and validating data from over 21,000 households. We'll be developing expansion weights. I've already mentioned we're undergoing the extensive review internally and by the independent firm, and we'll have that out beginning of by the end of this 2024 with the data set delivered spring 2025. Working on coordination with the activity sim team to make sure that process data meets modeling needs. And then we have ongoing discussions about how and where to store the data. And Joe has been leading the charge of conversations with the Transportation Secure Data Center as a strong potential to be the holder for that data. They have strong protocols in place to make sure that the data is well secured and also available in the way that we need it to be. And then, yeah, we're starting planning for future surveys. So how do we leverage all of this momentum and all of this success that we have had as a team, I think, as a travel survey subcommittee and OMSC to create a more sustainable ongoing program. That's all. Anything else?